is compounds all made with metal ions. And we'll start off with this NiCl2. So we're talking about nickel and chloride, right? Nickel ions and chloride ions. So we know that the name is going to be nickel something chloride is a compound name. We just have to figure out which nickel ion we're dealing with. So this is where the reverse crisscross comes in. We have NiCl2. If we go back to imagining these as ions, we can take the charges, the subscripts, and reverse them to get the charges. Okay? So we just go backwards from what we were doing with formula writing. So this tells us that, well, first of all, does chlorine form a chloride 1 minus ion? Yeah. So we seem to be on the right track. So what we're dealing with here is nickel, that's an odd, dealing with nickel 2 chloride. That seem reasonable? Okay. This next one, we know we're dealing with copper ions and oxygen ions, oxide ions. So we have some copper oxide. We don't know if it's copper 1 or copper 2. So again, we go backwards to figure out our charges. Well, now here's where things get a little bit tricky. Because this would seem to indicate that we have copper 1 plus, oxygen 1 minus. Does oxygen form a 1 minus ion? What's it form?
2 minus 2.
2 minus. Remember, we can simplify those subscripts. So this has to be multiplied by 2 to get the correct charge on oxygen, which means this also has to be multiplied by 2. So we're dealing with copper 2 here.
And you're just not worried about the oxide and the chloride?
Well, those don't form multiple ions, so they don't get the Roman numeral designations. The only ones that get Roman numeral designations are the metals that form multiple ions. And we're going to practice a lot with these, don't you worry. Okay, so now we've got some iron ion, and we have an oxide ion. So we just need to figure out which iron this is. So if we look at Fe2O3, from what ions would this have been formed?
Iron 3.
Iron 3. Does oxygen form a 2? Yeah, it does. So that checks out. That works. So this is iron 3 oxide. Does that make sense? This is the trickiest part of the ionic compounds. Here's one more tiger trap. Sn is tin snips. So we have some ion of tin and we have another oxide. And if we do that reverse crisscross, so we have SnO2, we want to think about what those came from. Does oxygen form a 1 plus ion? No. This must have been simplified. So to get the ion that we know oxygen most commonly forms, our 2 minus, we have to multiply that by 2. So which tin are we dealing with? Tin 4 oxide. And pretty soon you'll get so good at these, you'll just go, oh, that's chromium 2 oxide. What's the shortcut to knowing without doing any back crisscrossing? What is it?
I have it. It's there. I just can't get the words.
You know that oxygen's got a 2 minus charge. So if something's balanced out 1 to 1 with oxygen,
Multiply it.
it's got to be a 2 plus. You know that. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns on these? That's where we're going to stop today. I put up the first part of your homework assignment. The chapter review is tentatively due the Monday before Thanksgiving. Tentatively, your Chapter 7 test will be the day before we start Thanksgiving break. Test. You're going to be seeing your compound naming quiz for the first time on Tuesday. That's when you get your first chance to pass your compound naming quiz. Tomorrow we're going to work with more types of ionic compounds, and Monday we will work with covalently bound or molecular compounds. Okay? Right now with what you know, you can get up through number 8 in the chapter review.